Hello, welcome to the Personal Recovery Program or Reboot Yourself. My name is Peter Mueller and I've designed this program to help you to get through the corona crisis as good as possible. And when this whole thing is over, hopefully you will approach your professional and social life in a more effective way. Today, on day number 12, we are almost through the first 15 days. Managing your time and managing your life. Just a reminder, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and you get notifications when we have new videos, and you have access to all our other videos which pertain to management issues, time management issues, biochemistry, proteins, and so forth. Please send us an email with your comments and suggestions. But before we begin, first things first, checkpoint day 11. Did you take any actions on the videos day 1 and 11? I think you did, so we can proceed. On yesterday's issues, did you decide to change your nutrition, making some adjustments? Did you estimate your base metabolism? Because you have to do this if part of your plan is to lose weight or to firm up your body. Did you read the lessons 41 to 45 in the 101 lessons book? Did you meditate for 10 minutes? There is a lot to do. If you have left a lot of things undone, please do them. Stop this video, and after you have done, come back. Otherwise, and I'm sure you did most of it, let's get on with it. Managing your time, managing your life. Now the first thing is, I have chosen some common and dangerous time management habits which apply to most of us if we don't pay careful attention to it. We choose normally the easy tasks over the difficult tasks. We choose tasks we like and the ones over those we don't like. And we pick always the projects which use little time rather than those which require a lot of time. Very simple. We want quick successes, quick instant gratification, so we pick the small little thingies. And we choose problems where the resources and everything is ready, that we can start with it immediately, and not those where it's difficult to start, where not everything is ready. And we answer questions and solve problems where we know already the answers, and we don't pick those where we are not totally sure how to solve the problem. And most of the time we solve those where we can immediately react rather than looking for proactive solutions. And we choose always, or most of us use, the urgent over the important, which is one of the most deadly habits in effectiveness. Our time management habits are mostly reactive rather than proactive. That's the crux of the matter. Now, when we look at all of our activities of the day, we simply have to look before we tackle a problem from two dimensions: overall from an importance point of view or from a perceived urgency point of view. So there are important things, and then there are not so important things, and there are urgent things and there are not so urgent things. So based on those two dimensions, we can simply divide our activities into 4 quadrants. The quadrant 1, which I call the stress or the crisis quadrant, where the important subjects are there and they are urgent. This is true crisis. Number 2, this is a very important one. I call it the achievement quadrant, but this is very often neglected. These are important things we need to do, but they are not urgent. We don't perceive they are urgent because they are a long way down the road and they are big projects which we normally procrastinate and don't tackle. Then we have the devil's quadrant or the devil's corner, quadrant 3. These are the not important but urgent things. the urgent email, the phone call, the text message, and so forth. And number 4, the not important and not urgent, this is complete waste. Now, we just briefly were touching it. So quadrant 1 is true crisis. For example, on April 10th, 12th, 13th, the tax returns are due on April 15th. It was a quadrant 2 3 months ago to do your taxes, but now it's becoming a quadrant 1 because there is the deadline. All deadline-driven projects where there are major consequences if we don't complete them, that is in quadrant 1. In quadrant 2, there are many things, they are further down the road, these are bigger projects, and there are also our developmental ones, things to learn, skills to acquire, relationship building. These kind of things are in quadrant 2. And here it is for quadrant 2. There are 2 ways. Number 1, we procrastinate them until they become quadrant 1, and then we are in deep crisis, and then we make normally mistakes, or the project is incomplete or has some flaws or so forth, or we don't do them at all and hope it goes away. And that happens for many people if the negative consequences of not accomplishing something are not immediately with major pain associated. And then these things don't get done. If you don't get your degree in college, you leave, okay, 10 years later you might regret it, and then you are in the department of the people that would have, should have once. Quadrant 3, the devil's quadrant, not important and urgent. The emails, all of our electronic world where we are immediately in the reactive mode. And quadrant 4, Monday morning quarterbacking, gossiping in the office and so forth. We know that when we are there and we have to pay attention to. Now, if we were to make a time log, and many experience shows when people do the first time a time log to see during a day they record everything, where their activity goes, there is the first frightening result that people spend only up to 30% on important things above the line and 70% on the not important one. And most of them are in the urgent one, perceived urgency, urgent and not important. This is the danger quadrant where a lot of activities go. These, I call it the illusions of productivity. We are busy, but we are confusing activity with result or movement with achievement. But achievement is in quadrant 2. We have to remember. And that is the problem. And most people, that's why everybody is stressed out, because when we are driven by perceived urgency, this creates stress. Now, the key what we have to do is we have to move out of quadrant 3. When we go back, you see it was 60% and the achievement quadrant only 10%. And we have to move out of the devil's quadrant into the achievement quadrant. So eliminating quadrant 3 activities, we have to work on that habit. And then we have to work towards quadrant 2. Now, this is, in other words, quadrant 3, de-emphasize time and effort, and quadrant 2, moving it up. Meaning, essentially, and we have talked before in our other projects, in our other videos, when we were talking about our digital detox, organizing our electronic universe of setting priorities, when we were talking about goals, eliminating all those urgency addictive patterns and getting them out of our daily life and replacing that time and filling it with meaningful goals for personal development, our professional goals, and so forth. That's the essence of proper time management. We have to handle quadrant 1 first, true crisis we have to do always first. But then moving out of quadrant 3 into 2. And we can only do this when we proactively change the patterns in our day. And the first way to solve this situation is we have to make a time log. 1 week. And not next Monday, no, tomorrow. There will be never a good week to do it, a so-called normal week. Making a time log, and there are basically 2 ways to do it. One is every half hour we stop and simply record during the day after half an hour what we have done. And then we slot it where the activity fits into which quadrant. And you see we can fill it out in Excel spreadsheet. Or we simply record whenever we change from one activity to the next one. These are the 2 ways. We can do this in our little in our composition book we can make it, or another way of doing it today in these days, we can use the recording function in our cell phone, and whenever we have a change we record the time and what we do, and in the evening we listen to our own voice recordings and make a transcript, and then we can see how much time we spent in each quadrant. And then we have a starting point, and then we have systematically to work getting out of 3 into 2. And here are the 10 steps how we can improve substantially our time and self-management. Number 1, we have to make a commitment and a decision to improve our time management. That's number 1. Number 2, we have to take a time log. Otherwise, we have illusions of knowledge where our time goes. We are just tinkering on the edges of the problem if we don't have a proper time log. Believe me. Number 3, after we have done a time log, analyze the spending pattern. How much time and resources we spent in the 4 quadrants. And after 6 months, we do another time log and see if we actually improved our time management habits. But we should. It should be relatively significant, the shift. Step number 4, getting out of quadrant 3 immediately when we catch ourselves, when we have those illusions of productivity in the office. Again, reacting immediately to email, doing email on a daytime where we shouldn't be doing it. We should have half an hour here for email, half an hour there, and in between, switch it off, switch the phone off, digital detox. We have talked about the things you can do to eliminate quadrant 3 in our goals video. We were talking about how to fill quadrant 2 with some meaningful work in our professional life and our social life. All right, so which is number 5, create short and long-term goals and write them down that you have them always in front of you. And make the first hour of a workday a Q1 and Q2 day. Crisis and important work. No phone, no email. Be alone in your office or go to an empty conference room and do the work there. Quadrant 1 and Quadrant 2. You should proactively space each day at least 2 hours for Quadrant 1 and 2, where you are undisturbed and pay full attention to it. It works miracles, believe me. If you get 2 hours a day on the important things and you are making it distraction-free and interruption-free, it works miracles, believe me. Make the first hour a Q1 and a Q2. Step number 7. Review your daily management habits and goals for the next day. Minimum 1 and 2 tasks for Q1 and Q2. So every day, review it, how much time you have spent, and set goals, specific goals for Quadrant 1 and 2 you are committed to achieve that day. That means you have to break down the goal. You have a bite basically, which you can complete that day. 2 or 3 bites on the apple every day on major projects, you will be surprised how quickly you come to significant results. Number 8, before leaving home, review your daily goal and task list and read it loud to yourself. A handful of things we talked about in the other videos, those daily chunks, the post-it note. Read it to yourself. I get the oil change done in the car. I have prepared the PowerPoint chart, the first 10 slides, or I've written the quarterly report, or I organized the 1-hour staff meeting from A to Z. All right, very clearly. Number 9, design your day proactively. Block out specific times every day, 3 hours ideally, where you are working on Q1 and 2, creating a distraction and interruption-free environment. Go to a place where people don't know that you are there, that the phone, the email, nothing can disturb you. And after you have established these new habits, step number 10, condition your new time management habits until they are an integral part of your character. On that note, this should be enough for today, and happy time logging. Please start tomorrow. Here are the things to work on this segment. Start a time log for 1 week and start tomorrow. Identify your Quadrant 3 activities through the first week. Make a plan on how to cut Quadrant 3 activities, and we talked about it in the other videos: digital detox, reorganizing your electronic world, disconnect, unplug and disconnect, local, time-wise. You have it. Go back to the videos and look at it. It fits in nicely here. Identify Q2 goals, your longer term projects, privately and in the office, and read the lessons 46 to 50 in the 101 Lessons book. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening, and tomorrow we talk about procrastination, because the Quadrant 2 is not done, because the procrastinator is active in us. Tomorrow we talk about procrastination, the silent killer. And so, see you tomorrow, and act with passion. And the first 15 days of social distancing is over tomorrow or so, and that means we have another few weeks to come. So stay home, stay safe, and practice social distancing. Thank you and goodbye, and see you tomorrow.